a little high.
Yeah.
But it'll grow back.
Commissioner May, Commissioners, it is now 11:45.
I like it.
All right, thank you. Welcome back, everybody. We'll now go into our pre-commission meeting, and we will start with any general announcements that any commissioner would like to bring up. All right. Any comments, concerns, or questions about the agenda? All right, hearing none. Director Wong.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, good morning. Couple updates across all aspects here of the district. First off, as you all know, with the current air quality condition being red, I have continued to restrict any outside operations that cannot be accomplished inside an ACHD vehicle. Maintenance continues to haul chips. Our inspectors are on site, but in their vehicles, and our great paint team was out today accomplishing lane striping, but we have halted all raised pavement reflector and crosswalk operations until we go to orange or better. With Friday forecast as an orange or better with the front that's coming in, I have authorized maintenance to expend overtime operations to complete projects that have been sort of on the sidelines based on air quality here this week. Normally, as you know, most of maintenance is down on Friday, but we're going to bring them in. Now, just as a review, which I shared with you on Monday from the ACCM meeting that Paul Daigle attended, there were currently at that point 12 active fires in Idaho, consuming 80,000 acres. Again, this was expected to double by today. There are 90 fires in 10 western states, and as we shared with you, the national capabilities to address those fires are maxed out. So there's a tremendous push for local support for the national effort. And Ada County is seeing evacuees coming in from Oregon in RVs, and the plan is to shore them up at the Expo Center seeking shelter. So with the challenges Garden City may be facing in bedding down those out-of-state visitors that are bringing RVs to the fairgrounds to escape the fires in Oregon, last night I have offered ACHC's help as needed to the mayor. As noted earlier, we will receive notice as things goes on, but he was very appreciative, and he'll let us know as they continue to chart their next actions as to how we can help them in bedding down and supporting the folks that are coming in. As I shared with you earlier, Ada County had agreed to reimburse COVID expenses that we have at the district. I'm pleased to report that today we received a check for about a little over $38,000 from the Ada County for those reimbursement costs. And so again, thank you, Ada County Commissioners. We are beginning work on the Ada County survey that you authorized with the FY20 budget, and we will have proposed questions from the team here by October 2nd. What I'd like to do at that point is share those with you all for your considerations as to what you would like to see on that survey, and have some thoughts on the consultants that we're looking at to carry out this very important project. Our plan is to have this in the public's hand by November, and then back to you in late January, February with all the results. Of course, we will keep you posted as we go forward. We also continue to monitor very closely any updates on the governor's Strong Family, Strong Students initiative for ACHD families. At this point, again, there's still a lot of questions in the air, but we'll keep you posted as to how we can best leverage that initiative to support our ACHD families here. Commissioner May and I had a conversation with members of ACHD's PAG regarding bulb outs and maintenance operations, and it was suggested by a member of the PAG that we consider formalizing a consideration process which would include bulb outs when we were planning capital maintenance projects such as overlays and upgrading pedestrian ramps. Plans and projects in development and technical services have already met, and we have a draft concept that goes from most important consideration to least important consideration regarding when or when not to add bulb outs to future capital maintenance projects. Although it is not ready for prime time yet, we will continue to work this, and I hope to have this in front of the PAG, your ACHD Pedestrian Advisory Group, in the upcoming weeks, and then in front of you as we move forward. Under Jennifer's leadership, we have mostly completed our winter equipment assessments and preparation, and we're in the process of finalizing the winter maintenance strategy that, as I shared with you earlier, is going to be a little different. That will be in front of you probably in mid to late October for your review. We also continue to expand, or as we continue to expand our GAP programs, and are looking at more options for bike lanes, such as protected bike lanes and shared paths. I have asked maintenance to explore options for additional maintenance equipment purchases that could better fit maintaining those lanes and enhance winter operations. If these are possible or out there, I may be coming to the Commission during the first or second budget adjustment with a request to purchase that equipment and to bring on additional team members to operate those new pieces of equipment. So more to follow as we get down that path. For your small cell license update, currently there are 115 sites installed we have that are active, and 86 of those sites contain 5G antennas. 117 additional sites are in the queue with approved construction drawings, and we have 115 additional sites in pre-application phase. Currently, Development Technical Services are doing a tremendous job. We have 18 development applications and 33 plan submittals under review at this point in time. Commissioners, as we've requested earlier, if you have any legislative recommendations for the upcoming season, we would ask that we can get those in the very near future so that we can begin discussions with ACHD lobbyists. And finally, we are coordinating a joint session with Boise and Meridian in late October, and we will keep you posted as to how that goes. So, Commissioners, that's my update for today. I stand for any questions.
All right, thank you very much, Director Wong. Commissioners, any questions or comments?
Yes, Madam President.
Commissioner Goldthorpe.
I was wondering for the director if you've kept track, or anyone has kept track of the legislative concerns as we've gone this past year, or if we need to resubmit them.
Commissioner May, Commissioner Goldthorpe, yes, we've kept track. However, it's always good to make sure that we are all on the same track. So if there is an opportunity that you'd like to just send a clarifying note, it's always greatly appreciated.
Could instead perhaps the executive team send out a list of what we're planning on so far?
Sure, we can do that.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Oh, Commissioner Hanson.
Hey, thanks, Director. Appreciate it. I'm glad there's good progress on the PAG, Pedestrian Advisory Committee's recommendation. That's great. And the bike lane gap filling project. I appreciate that very much. Yeah, there's on the maintenance. So I'm glad we're moving forward.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Any other comments or questions? All right, hearing none. Director Wong, thank you very much. Looks like we have a few minutes.
You have about 5 minutes. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Madam President, Commissioners, it's now 12 o'clock.
All right, thank you very much. Welcome everyone to our September 16th Commission meeting. Director Long, if you would please lead us in the pledge.
Yes, if you'd all please stand and follow me. I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the
of the
flag
United States of
of the
America,
United States of America,
to the republic for
and
which it
to the
stands,
republic for which it
one
stands,
nation, under
one
God,
nation,
indivisible,
under God,
with liberty and
indivisible,
justice for all.
liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you very much. All right, today we are honoring ACHD's General Counsel, Steve Price, for his unwavering support and sometimes defense for the district. Steve's passion for excellence in all that he does, his commitment to doing what's right, and his rock-solid integrity and ethics consistently set the highest bar for all of ACHD. And today of great celebration is Steve's birthday. So happy birthday, Steve. And you know you're getting older when your happy hour is actually nap time. Happy birthday and thanks for all you do. All right, our first item of business is to adopt our agenda. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless a commissioner or citizen so requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda. All consent agenda items are commission action items unless noted. Is there a motion?
Madam President, I move approval of the consent agenda.
Second that.
Thank you. All right. We have a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you. Motion carries. All right, regular agenda, no items on our regular agenda for this meeting. That takes us down to public communications. Ms. Spencer, do we have anyone that has signed up to address the commission?
I do not, and I don't see anybody raising their hand either. Give it just a moment. I think we're good.
All right. With no one to address the commission, we will stand adjourned and move right into our post-commission work session. Is our first presenter with us?
Yes, I'm here.
From CityGo? All right. Our first presentation today will be on CityGo initiative, and Kate Justice will be addressing us. Kate, welcome.
Thank you. Let me get my screen here. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you for having me today. You all passed our CityGo MOU last month. Just a little background on the CityGo MOU. So initially, ACHD, City of Boise, Boise State, CCDC, and VRT entered a 2-year MOU in October of 2018. That MOU is expiring at the end of this month. And I'm proud to say that we accomplished all the activities outlined under that MOU in establishing a Transportation Management Association for downtown Boise. We are now working on getting the approvals to enter into a new 5-year MOU. And now I'm going to go back into a little bit of the history of CityGo and what we've accomplished and some of how we've been measuring that success. So the vision established is for this TMA in downtown Boise to be highly regarded, well-known, and easy-to-use mobility system that is supported by mobility partners, mobility users, and the community at large. And our mission is really to imagine and create a mobility innovations and a transportation management solution for downtown Boise that not only offers equitable and effective mobility options, but helps reduce the number of single occupancy vehicle trips and slow the increase for demand for new additional parking. So when we created the strategic framework for CityGo, we've set up 3 focus areas. So all of our work focuses in these 3 areas. And the first is mobility and members, and we're really focusing on an environment change. So by this, creating a viable, attractive, and integrated, easy-to-use, member-supported mobility system, and really focusing on the supports and ease of use, not only for employers and organizations, but also individuals, visitors to downtown, commuters, etc. The second is on partnership and performance. So we're really looking at that policy and system change and the ability to establish and sustain a transportation management association for downtown Boise that integrates all the different transportation services that are available. And the third is community action, which focuses on behavioral change. I'm really raising awareness in the community on what services are available and supporting the public in making choices that promote sustainable transportation. Now, I was asked to go over a little bit of the accomplishments, what we've really done in the last year and a half. And the first, close to a year really was building the strategic framework, building out CityGo before we launched to the public. So we created the CityGo brand and website and all that goes along with it. We officially launched to the public in November of 2019. And at that time, we also launched a comprehensive website for mobility in downtown Boise for employers and the community at large. Since we launched in November, we've doubled our membership. So we started with our 5 initial members, and we've brought on 5 additional members, which I think is doing pretty well considering the pandemic hit not quite long after we've launched, and necessarily transportation services has not been on the top of mind of most employers. We've also launched the CityGo wallet with multimodal passes that include ACHD commuterized van pool, the bus, Bronco shuttle, CCDC parking, bikes and scooters. And we've created a roadmap for an integrated mobility system for downtown, including an app-based payment system. And that payment system, we have a vendor for, and we'll be launching that early in 2021, the first phase of that. We've set up a pretty robust performance measurement system, which I will go through here in a little bit with the help of the Idaho Policy Institute. We've also created working groups with all of the key partners and stakeholders for governance of CityGo, sales and marketing, as well as technology and service integration. And then on the behavioral change side, a lot of this work has slowed due to COVID-19 and what's possible right now, but we have hosted 4 very successful events between 40 and 90 attendees, including a socially distanced bike challenge just this last month. We've created a pretty large online following and getting that information out in online platforms, as well as presented to over 30 downtown businesses and organizations. So here's our members, ACHD. We have our 5 kind of initial founding members, as well as our 5 new private sector members. When you look at the employee base and student base of all of these members, once we have all of their programs up and running, over 21,000 students and employees in downtown will have access to new transportation benefits under CityGo. And this number will continue to grow. I think we're in conversation somewhere along the line with 5 additional members right now that should be coming along soon. So this number will ideally continue to as time goes on. Now I want to talk a little bit about how we're measuring success, how we're measuring this performance downtown. So first thing is we set up a kind of population-based for downtown key indicators with the help of the Idaho Policy Institute. These are the 6 key indicators that we are looking at, and then we have about between 5 and 10 other performance measures under each key indicator to help us kind of direct our work and see if what we're doing is being successful. I'm not going to go into all the details of those. They are in the MOU if you are more interested in that. But I am just going to briefly go over the key indicators and then their kind of the baseline data that we established before we launched CityGo in November. So the first one has to do with public awareness, right? People won't use other options if they don't know they exist. So the first kind of question that we did, and we had about 1,400 respondents to the city in downtown Boise. It was administered through the Idaho Policy Institute of what transportation options people are aware of. Obviously, the highest one was personal vehicle, but there's a fairly good awareness of most of the options downtown, but definitely something that can be improved on. And the second one is, which of the following transportation options have you used? Again, by far over 90% of people have used a personal vehicle, and it goes down from there. So there's a lot of work that can be done in this area. The third is, have you switched from driving alone to another form of transportation? So this is trying to really get at that behavior change from year to year. Are people changing their behavior in one direction or another? So you can see the majority of people, when we did this survey, we're still using the same form of transportation they had used a year before. And then you look at what people use day to day to commute. And again, close to 90% use their personal vehicle. And then this one gets at employer benefits. So people have access to discounts, free transit, et cetera, anything through their employer or school. Over 50% said no. So this is an area that we can do a lot of work to help improve in the downtown area. And the last one is really kind of equity-based. What income base has access to transportation benefits, and can we help get lower income workers having more access to transportation benefits through their institutions? So we did that survey back last October, and we are getting ready to do that survey again, under the caveat that the data that we received this year is probably going to be very skewed because of COVID-19, and hopefully a year from now when we go out for the third survey, we'll have better data as to really our effect. One of the other ways that we measure what we do is through ACHD Commuter Rides platform that they manage, Share the Ride Idaho, that we've partnered on to build out a network for downtown Boise and CityGo members. This is data just from the last 30 days. As you would expect, 70% of people are teleworking that are logging their commute. A lot of people biking, and very few, only 3% driving alone, which says a lot about where we are right now. But we have a way of kind of tracking from month to month that work as well, and what people are logging, and how they're commuting within our system. So that's kind of where we've come from and where we are. I was also asked to talk about what's the future over the next couple of years, which is an interesting thing to talk about right now, because I think that that's really hard to say what we will be doing in 2 years. Obviously, our focus areas that I talked about before and our goal to reduce SOV use will remain the same. However, how we do that, I think, has potential to change dramatically depending on where we go with COVID-19 and kind of what we look like as a transportation system coming out of that. But for now, these are the things that we plan to focus on over the next year to 2 years. So in environmental change, obviously, we're going to continue to work to gain members, recruit, and engage downtown employers to work towards more sustainable transportation options for their employees, and expand those transportation benefits in downtown Boise. Right now, we are focusing on telework, flex work, and active transportation, and will likely continue to have that focus for the foreseeable future. We plan to launch the integrated fare payment system app this coming spring. We're working through that right now and all the technical details to integrate ACHG's van pool, the Bronco shuttle, VRTs, buses, parking, and Green Bike into that integrated system. And we'll continue to work through those. The next kind of phase of that, we plan to integrate private modes, including Lyft, Uber, the scooters, and eventually the Ride Amigos, or that Share the Ride Idaho platform that's managed through ACHG. So eventually someone can get all of their transportation information, plan their trip, pay for their trip for all the modes available through one app. Policy and system change, we're going to continue to look at and research the impacts of COVID-19 on local transportation system and adjust accordingly, as well as continue to pursue new and innovative funding streams. And then in the behavior change section, we still plan to continue our monthly events. We're focusing more on an online engagement platform versus in person, and continue to support employers as they transition back to work, and with creating more sustainable long-term telework policies. And we'll continue to expand our program as needed, depending on what the environments are and what we see as the needs in the community. And with that, I will stand for any questions that you may have for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Appreciate the update. Commissioners, any questions or comments for Kate?
Yes, Commissioner May.
Commissioner Arnold.
Thank you. Maybe it's in the presentation somewhere and we went through it fairly quickly. The Bronco shuttle has been in operation for quite some time. Did you include their trips in your statistics of what's taken place so far and how many people are using it and that sort of thing?
And so the thing, let's see if I can go back. So for this platform, no. This is just potentially someone from Boise State could log their rides and Share the Ride Idaho, but this does not encompass all trips. We have systems set up in place. I do not have that data to share today for a number of trips on all of the modes for our downtown members. However, because of COVID-19, a lot of the transportation systems are not collecting that data right now because they're doing rear entry or otherwise socially distanced onboarding, so they don't have accurate numbers. So that data is a little bit skewed now, but that is something that we will collect and add into kind of our data system going forward.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Kate. Any other questions or comments for Kate? All right, hearing none. Kate, thank you very much. We appreciate the update. All right, our next presentation today during our work session will be on the downtown 11th Street Bikeway.
Good afternoon, Madam President and Commissioners. I'm just going to get my presentation shared here. Great. Are you seeing my screen now?
Yes.
Awesome.
We can see that.
My name is Amy Fimble, and I am CCDC's project manager for the downtown 11th Street Bikeway project. So today,
welcome, Amy.
Thank you. Today, myself and Zach Pietmeyer with the City of Boise's Planning and Development Services are going to present the draft concept designs for the downtown portion of the 11th Street Bikeway. which extends from Washington Street to River Street in downtown Boise. So today, oh, I have to change presentation mode, so hold on a sec, sorry, technology. That's just one. Okay, thank you. Today we'll provide an overview of the project, a summary of the public and stakeholder engagement done today, and then we'll dive right into the concept designs that we're planning on taking out for public engagement later this month. The 11th Street corridor provides an important connection between Camelback Park and Boise River. The graphic on the right of the slide shows that the 11th Street Bikeway is actually divided into two segments. So the north segment is ACHD's segment, which extends from Heron Street south to State, and then the downtown segment that we'll be discussing today extends south from Washington Street to River Street. So who's involved? There's a lot of entities that have been helping shape the design of this project. The first one, which has been a key player in the project, is the Interagency Advisory Team. So that's made up of CCDC, the City of Boise, ITD, ACHD, and ACHD's Bicycle Advisory Committee. The general public, cyclists, property, and business owners along 11th Street are also key stakeholders in the project, and we've been getting their feedback through online surveys, comment maps, and online open houses. So the first round of public and stakeholder engagement occurred from May 28th through June 24th. In total, we received 401 comments from 287 different people. There were 268 responses to the online survey and 114 comments on the online comment map. Overall, 95% of survey respondents want to see a bikeway project completed on 11th Street. So that's really great to hear. We also heard from 26 out of 44 property and business owners along the corridor, and their top priority was improved bicycle safety on 11th Street. Tied for second was an aesthetically pleasing streetscape and maintaining on-street vehicle parking. It's also important to note that businesses and property owners north of Myrtle Street valued more bikes and pedestrians going past their businesses, while south of Myrtle Street really valued maintaining parking and loading space. Zach Meyer will now take you through the two draft concept designs.
Thanks, Amy. Madam President, Commissioners, I'm going to walk you through a few slides here illustrating some of the elements of the proposed concepts that will go out to the public. So over the last couple months, the design team and the Interagency Advisory Team met and discussed different candidate options that could be used to help improve bicycle facilities along the downtown portion of the corridor. Those are listed here, including buffered bike lanes, protected bike lanes, raised bike lanes, and then your standard bike lanes, which is it's really a no-build condition compared to what's out there today. The full corridor already has standard bike lanes. Through discussions, it was determined that, again, standard bike lanes really don't improve conditions for cyclists, and that buffered bike lanes only provide minimal improvement over the existing conditions. And so the teams really landed on focusing on protected bike lanes as one option and raised bike lanes. So schematically, those are both shown here, and they're actually fairly similar in terms of traffic operations, the sidewalk realm, streetscape. But you do notice the primary differences are in the cyclists. So on the raised bike lane option, similar to Cloverdale that was constructed over the interstate recently, the cyclists would be traveling at an elevated position, approximately at sidewalk elevation, separated from live traffic from using a parking lane. On the protected lane side, similarly, cyclists are separated from live traffic either by a parking lane or a raised concrete median, but the cyclists are traveling at the driving elevation of the road. One other key difference to note between the two is that the raised bike lane option allows enough space for parking on both sides of the street, whereas the protected option does require a little more space for the bike facilities, and therefore parking is only allowed on one side. Today, we've investigated which side would have the least impact on parking, and it appears the west side could provide us the most capacity. So parking was elected to remain on the west side for now. I'm going to go through a few graphics just illustrating each of these examples. So here is kind of a plan view of the raised bike lane option. Again, two-way, two-lane traffic operations that mimic what's out there today on the street, parking on both sides, but you see your bike lanes now have shifted to a location between the parking lane and the sidewalk. Several blocks within the project corridor will receive some streetscape and sidewalk enhancements, shown here is one example that will get full kind of sidewalk and streetscape enhancement improvements. Here's a rendering that our consultant helped generate for the raised bike lane option. Here we're sitting at Main Street looking north towards Idaho Street, and you can see, again, two travel lanes, parking on both sides with the raised bike lane between the parking and the sidewalk. Here's another rendering, more of a bird's eye view from approximately where Simplot headquarters is, looking north at Front and 11th. And we'll go over some intersection details here in just a second, but just wanted to give you kind of an overhead rendering view of the project and that option. Alternatively, the protected bike lane option still maintains 2 lanes of travel, but again, parking only on the west side due to space constraints. The bicycle lane would be located between that parking lane and the sidewalk on the west side, or protected on the east side by a raised concrete median. And similar graphics here, renderings illustrating what that might look like at street level. And again, at bird's eye view from near Simplot headquarters. So we did want to point out a few other key features of the 2 alternatives that we're looking at now. So one specific one is the block from Myrtle to Front. As you're probably all familiar, that block is a little bit different. There's no on-street parking and currently exhibits 4 travel lanes, 2 in each direction. The raised bike lane option shown on the top part of the screen can maintain all 4 lanes while still providing adequate raised bicycle facilities with a little bit of extra intersection protection at the ends. However, the bottom half of the screen represents what would happen with the protected bike lane option, and more specifically a 4 to 3 lane conversion. One of the southbound travel lanes would be dropped in order to permit enough space for the protected bike lanes. A traffic analysis was conducted to determine what this and other treatments along the corridor would result in terms of congestion impacts and delay. And this, coupled with the other improvements that I'll go over next, didn't really result in any appreciable congestion increases or delay, other than for the southbound approach to Myrtle. And we can talk more specifics, but the approximate delay is adding between 1 and 3 seconds, I believe. Talking about intersections here specifically is the 11th and Myrtle intersection. The design team contemplated several improvements to Myrtle, Front, and State Street because of the 3 highest volume crossings. And so I wanted to walk through some of the treatments anticipated there. First is the green pavement markings that help identify where cyclists are anticipated to be traveling, so that helps provide a visual cue to motorists as they approach the intersection that a cyclist may be crossing in front of them. Second would be bulb outs or intersection protection, which can be raised features. They can be painted or using something more temporary like a candle, raised a tubular candle, yet to be defined, but those have the effect of calming traffic as they turn, shortening the pedestrian and bike crossings, and improving safety for those crossings. The third one, which ACHD is fairly familiar with, is the leading pedestrian interval that's been installed at several locations throughout downtown. Provides 3 to 7 extra seconds of lead time for the crosswalk walk signal before traffic gets the green light to turn across there. Really gives pedestrians a chance to get out front and ahead of traffic so that they're more visible. I'm going to turn it back over to Amy to discuss public outreach next steps.
Before you do that, could I ask a question?
Yes.
Go ahead, Commissioner Arnold.
Thank you. Could you back up to the slide that shows the parking? So One of the things that we learned in the pilot project that we did on Main Street was that when you have parking that's out in the street and the bike lane is between the parking and the sidewalk, there's a visibility issue at driveways where a car turning in, if there are vehicles parked too close to the driveway, they cannot see if there's a bicyclist in the bike lane. So have you taken that into consideration, and will there be some barriers to prevent parking? Because I worried about that when I used the streets during the pilot project. It was a huge problem if you had a big SUV parked near a driveway. If you were a motorist turning in, you could not see if there was someone in the bike lane. So that's something we learned from the pilot project that we would need to take into consideration.
Madam President, Commissioner Arnold, yes, thank you for bringing that up. That is actually a very important consideration, and I'm going to try to point at something on the screen. So you'll notice that the islands do extend out beyond the end of a parking lane in some situations, so that it does provide adequate sight triangles for vehicles that are trying to maneuver into a driveway. So that would be a fine-tuning refinement during final design once the geometrics are set. But yes, that is absolutely something that would be considered as part of this design. And FHWA has great guidance on how much space needs to be provided for adequate visibility.
Okay, thank you.
Great. So now we'll just talk about next steps for public outreach. We'll be presenting these two potential design options for the bikeway to the public in an online meeting on September 24th. The event will feature a presentation from the project team and then be followed by a question and answer period where the public can ask questions, and then also where we can gain feedback on the design. We'll also be holding online meetings strictly for property and business owners to get their feedback. These meetings will run through October 1st. And then we'll be posting a recording of the public meeting and project materials online for our online open house for people who can't attend the live sessions, to also provide feedback from September 25th through October 9th. So this is a snapshot of project schedule. You will see we're right here. And then, as I just discussed, we're about to start the second round of public and stakeholder engagement to share these two potential bikeway designs. Following those meetings, the interagency advisory team will convene again to review the public feedback that we received and then determine the preferred concept to take forward, as well as any modifications that need to be made to that preferred concept. The design team will go ahead and make those edits, and then we'll return to the ACHD Commission for another work session to share the recommended concepts. We're targeting being back before you at the beginning of November. The project team will then take the recommended concepts back to the stakeholder groups and the public so they can see the final approved concept, and then from there we'll move to the approval process and take that through the four implementing agencies. So CCDC's board, City Design Review, ACHD Commission, and ITD. What you don't see on this schedule is design development. So past the concept design, more detailed design and construction documents will occur in 2021, with physical construction to follow in 2022, which corresponds with the planned implementation schedule for ACHD's northern portion of the 11th Street Bikeway. With that, that completes our presentation, and we'll now stand for any questions that you have.
All right, thank you very much, Amy and Zach. Appreciate the update. Any questions, commissioners, or comments?
Madam President, I have one.
All right, Commissioner Goldthorpe.
I'm grateful to see all this. I have a vivid memory of all that's been said and done prior to this, and how important it is to the bicycle community to get the connectivity from the river up to the north end and the park. And thank you very much for the speed with which you proceeded on this.
Thank you, Commissioner Goldthorpe.
Any other questions or comments? Commissioner Hanson?
Thank you. Yeah, a lot of hard work's going on, and I'm impressed with the pandemic happening, and you were able to do a lot of good hard work in the meantime. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I would agree. The progress is impressive. Looking forward to having this project move ahead and come to fruition downtown. So thank you very much for all of your hard work and input. Any other questions before we move on? All right, hearing none, we look forward to having you back and hearing what you find out through the public outreach. And thank you again, Amy and Zach.
Great, thank you.
All right, our next item for our work session is a presentation by Susan L. Cox on a initiative called Blue Zone. So looking forward to hearing about this. Susan, are you with us?
I do not see a Susan listed as the participants.
Okay. Is there anyone else with this initiative that perhaps is here to present to us? All right. Hearing none. Did we get any sort of communication? Director
Yes,
Wong?
Madam President, we were in communication with the presenter just a little bit ago. Our communications team has stepped out and is calling her now again, so I'd ask for a little bit of patience, see if we can get her back on.
All right.
Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, we're told she's zooming in now.
All right, very good. Thank you very much.
Commissioner May, Ms. Alcox is on the line.
All right, very good.
Hello.
Welcome, Ms. Elcox. There
Hi.
you are.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
Welcome. We look forward to hearing about your initiative.
Thank you. So, do I have the ability? Yeah, I see ability to share my screen at the bottom. So
Yes.
hang on just one second. I've got some
Okay.
slides I want to share.
All right.
So the Blue Zones project, how many of you have heard of Blue Zones? Just so I kind of have an understanding of your level of, I see some heads shaking no. No
I've
one
not heard about it before this.
saying yes, okay.
Did a little research online, but looking forward to what you have to share with us today.
So Blue Zones is something that came about, I'd say maybe 15 years ago or so. It was founded by a National Geographic fellow who took a whole bunch of scientists to different places around the world and discovered where they have the healthiest people that have the healthiest outcomes and live the longest. And there were 5 original Blue Zones that were founded in that study. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can.
So those 5 places were Icaria, Greece, Nicoya, Costa Rica, Sardinia, Italy, Okinawa, Japan, and believe it or not, there was a U.S. one, Loma Linda, California. They have that's predominantly Seventh-day Adventists there, and the foods that they eat that supports their religion is what they believe predominantly brings about this healthy lifestyle, as well as other factors that I'll talk about in a minute that support the healthy living. So Dan Buettner was the person that was that led this effort, and he wrote several books about the blue zones. If you were to go out to Amazon and search for blue zones, you would find all those books out there. He decided that he wanted to not have his study die on the vine. So what's he going to do with all this knowledge now? And what he decided to do is go about bringing it to America, which is his home, and teaching communities how to be what I call blue zones friendly. And there are many upsides to working with the blue zones, such as a healthier population with lower healthcare costs. There's economic development that becomes driven by the successes that are achieved. And of course, many press releases are written in Healthy Blue Zones community, touting what becomes achieved through that. It attracts businesses to come to the area and stimulates economic vitality. There's higher productivity of the workforce because people who feel better overall perform better. And these communities have been proven to attract grants to pursue the objectives. So I wanted to share with you quickly a Blue Zones brochure that I have. The challenges that American communities have that Blue Zones helps address is that more than 86% of 3 trillion annual U.S. healthcare costs are spent on chronic disease. 69% of the American population can be classified as overweight or obese. And the truth is that our environment is affecting a lot of this. So seems like pretty much my entire lifetime, we've all been taught about different things, and of course it changes over time, but we've taught about how we need to do certain things to improve our health and our well-being. But how many of us actually do it? The fraction, unfortunately, is pretty small. So the good news is that 90% of a person's lifespan is determined by lifestyle choices. Sorry, 80% of a person's lifespan is determined by lifestyle choices, and this was proven by a Danish study of twins. So that means only 20% is in your DNA. So in the Blue Zones project, the difference is that the Blue Zones makes the environment help you with choices. So the easiest way for me to illustrate this is when you would go to a grocery store, you wouldn't be, and you get up to the check stand, you wouldn't be looking at an aisle of candy bars and sweets and whatnot as you check out, helping you to make a negative choice. Instead, as you go to the checkout aisle, you would be presented with healthy choices. And so you're more likely to make a healthy choice as you do your shopping. But it goes much beyond that. That's just a very simplistic take on how the environment in which you belong affects your daily choices. And that goes beyond food too, because Blue Zones has many things that are affected through that helps you be healthy. So through the Blue Zones project, we affect people, places, and policy. Engaging people within their community to provide opportunities that helps them to be healthier in their lives, helps them discover purpose in their life, and facilitate volunteer opportunities to give back to the community. It affects places. So they help you to orchestrate a critical mass of work sites, schools, restaurants, grocery stores, faith-based organizations that helps in the overall healthiness of the environment. And then policy is the last thing that they would help us put together to help city leaders suggest evidence-based practices that will impact the overall policies that we put together. So there's 9 power principles, if you were to read the blue zones, that you would learn about that affects this overall healthiness quotient. And this particular slide here has grouped them into 4 different categories. The first one is move naturally. So people in the blue zones, they don't do like Americans do and put aside time on their calendar to go to the gym. Instead, they move naturally within their environments. They create opportunities for movement throughout their day. And then through that, they get in the proper amount of movement that keeps their joints feeling great and them moving well. They have the right outlook. So I mentioned a little bit earlier that this was one of the things that they would help us address is having people be happier in their lives through having purpose in their life. This is very important and things that they found that people in the blue zones definitely had. They have things in Japan called their ikigai, and through the ikigai, they have social interactivities on a daily basis with a group that they have formed since childhood. And these groups help them to actually move through life in a much more positive fashion. The third one is eat wisely, so that they don't make poor choices. Fad diets are not generally on the menu. And then the last thing is to belong. Belonging to, like I mentioned, the ikigai, belonging is something that helps someone's overall well-being as well. So with that, I'll go back over to this presentation. So the upsides are that you have a healthier population with lower healthcare costs. Your economic development goes up, higher productivity of the workforce, and the proven ability to attract grants, as many of these cities have done. So they have now, I think, a little over 50 cities that have signed on to do this Blue Zones project. And at the end of the meeting, I will send you that brochure I was reading from, because at the back of it, it actually has a case study of what some of these cities have done and what their ROI has been. The Blue Zones actually does measurements when they come in to determine where a city actually is and all of the factors that they want to address, so that they can measure it at the end of the project and produce a return on investment. And they will, before they actually decide to work with a city, they come in and do an assessment to determine whether or not they feel that ROI is going to be there. So the cost to participate with the Blue Zones is they charge $5,000 to come out and speak to a community about what they will be able to do for us. And I look at $5,000 as pretty much a drop in the pan as far as, you know, getting a couple of people on an airplane coming out here and talking to us, and overnighting for those couple of people. That may be negotiable if we were to do this while COVID is on, because they are now doing virtual meetings, I understand. And if they decide that they want to work with a city, and the city or community decides that they want to work with them, they'll actually put together a proposal for the project and show them what they think the ROI might be. And from there, you will get an overall scope of the project that includes community transformation, presentation, and the value of the Blue Zones project, and the costs, overall costs that they think it's going to cost that city to do all of the things that they propose. And hopefully through that, we will receive some grants to achieve some of those, because many of these cities, in fact, everyone I read about, always has grants as part of the overall process. And then we'll come up with mutual obligations, because of course it's not just up to Blue Zones to do the work. A lot of the work is done by us here in the community. So with that, I'll turn it over to you all for questions to me, and hopefully I can answer them. I'm just hoping to find a contingency of people within the Treasure Valley that are interested in moving forward on this, and you guys are only one of the many that I've spoken to over the last couple of years.
Madam President.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Susan.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Goldthorpe?
Yeah, I think I have a few questions. What are some of the mutual obligations that seem to be generally happening with Blue Zone cities?
I actually have a list of those in sort of a contract that they sent me, so let me just turn to that for a second.
Does it involve changing ordinances or statutes in any way?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
So when shopping centers or stores like Albertsons or Fred Meyer, if there's a Blue Zone city, are they going to be obligated to change their marketing or their layouts or where they put the different foods in their stores?
So no one is obligated, but through the process that Blue Zones lays out with us, usually the grocery stores do get on board.
You use the term environment quite a bit. What does that mean in Blue Zone definition?
It means that everything around you is sort of supporting this healthy lifestyle. You've got sidewalks to be able to get out and enjoy the city. You've got bike lanes. Boise within the Treasure Valley, I think, is the best positioned already doing a lot of these things that support healthy communities. But also having city centers and parks and places where people can go out to get their necessary movement in for the day. But I also, when I use the word environment, it's a pretty big word, because I'm also talking about the grocery store. I'm talking about places of religion for faith-based people. I'm talking about everything that builds our lifestyle. Those are all positioned in a way that is going to give you the healthiest outcome.
Thank you. Susan, I have a question. Is this just specific to Boise, or you had mentioned that you have spoken to other groups and entities over, I think you said, the past 2 years? Have you branched out and spoken and presented to the other cities here in the Treasure Valley as well?
I've spoken to a variety of people throughout a variety of cities, and it seems like the answer that I'm getting to everyone that I've spoken to is, well, go talk to so-and-so and then get back with me. So everyone's passing the buck. Everyone's interested, but they don't want to make the first step. So I'm actually not sure what that first step's going to look like. But yes, I have, because I see this as something that would be transformational for our city. As Boise has grown over the years, or all the cities in the Treasure Valley have grown over the years, we're really just one huge metropolis, right? Canyon County's maybe a little bit further away, but even so, it's not far any longer. Definitely Garden City in Boise, I think of as one, and even Meridian anymore. So, and I also, before we move on to a next question, I want to step back just a minute because of the question about what we would be required to do. So, we would be required to secure a venue with necessary equipment for presentations, focus groups, and evening networking group events with the Blue Zones project. We would be provided, it would be necessary for us to complete a stakeholder invitation list and extend invitations and arrange one-on-one stakeholder meetings. We would lead welcome and closing Blue Zones project presentations. We would promote an evening networking event throughout the community. We would encourage attendance at presentations and focus groups and participate in a site visit debrief. While the Blue Zones team would work on generating marketing and promotional materials for site visits, they provide directions for a stakeholder list, an invitation language, and recommended schedule for its completion. They deliver a Blue Zones project community transformation presentation and the value of Blue Zones project presentation. And they would conduct an evening networking event, facilitate focus groups, and lead a site visit debrief.
All right, thank you very much. Commissioners, any other questions or comments for Susan?
Yes, Commissioner May.
Commissioner Arnold.
Susan, would you mind emailing to us your presentation and the brochures? I'd like to have a little more time to look this over. It sounds interesting, so I'd love to have copies of that to take a look at, and any other materials
Certainly.
that you have available.
Yep, I'd be glad to send that.
Thank you very much. Any other comments, commissioners, or questions?
Madam President?
Commissioner Hanson.
Yeah, thank you. I enjoyed this presentation. This summer, I listened to the results of a study on health indicators in Boise that Boise City has called a Energize Boise project, and it provided some really good data. So I assume you've seen that data, and that's what you're referring to when you're working with Boise. But I think there's important partnership with not just Boise, but the other cities in the county to understand the overlaps of what transportation and transportation infrastructure has on health indicators. And it's a really good study. I think it was done by the Vitruvian, very specific down to neighborhood level health indicators and which areas are sort of, as it were, in the red zone and which more blue zone, as it were. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions, commissioners? So Susan, since this is relatively new to so many of us, I appreciate that you'll send your presentation to us so we can take a closer look. And Director Wong? I think he can hear me. What I'd like to do, Director Wong, is ask that you have staff do a little bit of a deeper dive into this initiative and come back to us with some follow-up information and possible options for us going forward. If we could hand that off to you and staff.
We'll take care of it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Susan. We look forward to continuing the conversation with you.
All right, so I'm going to send my information over to Nicole, and then she can distribute it to you all.
Absolutely. She'll make sure that it gets out to all of us.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, commissioners, that was our last item for our work session. So we are done here today. Thank you all for coming and your input, and enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Stay healthy and don't stay out in that smoke too long. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.